And Eric Sheets-Haber. We're going to be talking through today's 7-game MLB main slate. We did a preview show earlier today, and yeah, I'm I'm not playing a ton of lineups just for what it's worth. I'm playing, but I am playing a few higher buy-in stuff, and I'm pretty condensed on what I'm doing overall. And I'm curious to see if Sheets is as condensed, and curious if anything happened this morning. It seems like you need 1 million points to win that slate, right?
Yeah, I changed my mind. I think I want to go like 100% Colorado with some Cruz and Fraley one-offs. Can I do that?
Sounds good to me. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Oh man, I was like, oh, wow, I must be doing well. I looked at some of my lineups. I'm like, wait a minute, what? How are these not even barely cashing? Like
Colorado's never going to end that game. That's good.
Yeah, I had a couple of 4-mans, but it's just anyway. That game is going to end.
Yeah, no, I got some 5-mans, but you have to have De La Cruz. You have to have everything. You have to have it all.
Right. It was doable to get there, and some people have it, and that's the problem.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. All right, so we can talk through this one because I'll just share my screen just so you guys can see sort of where the projections are at right now and everything. It's interesting to see a slate this small with the projected ownership on hitting being as low as it is. Like to have no hitter projected at 20%. Now, some hitters are going to probably be 20%. I have like Seager's. We got 15% roughly. And I've got 65% of them, so I guess I'm going to be overweight that. But it seems like for a small slate, I'm not used to saying don't worry about the chalk too much. But I mean, Texas and Tampa Bay maybe, but I don't even think that's going to be too popular to play. What do you think here, Sheets?
Yeah, so I'm pretty concentrated myself, by the way, tonight with the pitching. I have almost all of it in BB, Eovaldi, and Cole. I have a couple of sprinkles in the two cheapos in Cabrera and Rodriguez, but not, barely enough to even mention. Okay, so it's really BB, Eovaldi, and Cole. As far as the hitting goes, I screwed around with a lot of different routes here, and at the end of the day, I think. I'm a little more spread out than I might otherwise be, but I do have the Yankees a decent amount. I'm getting more of the Padres and Diamondbacks than I originally let on, and Tampa, which we kind of talked about a little bit, and Kansas City, a little more of that, and got to a little bit of Washington as well out of that game. I guess the reason why I don't have Dodgers too much, I don't know who's playing. It's like you said.
Right.
So that's pretty much what I'm doing. Nothing particularly earth-shattering. Just kind of hoping I get the right combinations, I guess. But I do have 20% Miami in the in the lottery. So that's a little different, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty creative, actually. I like that. And I don't think that for what it's worth, I think the Dodgers are going to be very low owned tonight. Partly what I talked myself into with the situation, and not very low. Look, low enough owned though, certainly. Why I talked myself into the situation though with the Dodgers is Robbie Ray coming back from an injury for that long and everything. So I actually think you can look at these two ways. One, yes, they're going to limit his pitch count. The other is that they probably want him to get his 80 pitches no matter what. So if you tell me that he's going to be in for 80 pitches, which I think is a better bet than not, unless they score 10 in the first inning or something. I'm just in on that. And people forget things about Robbie Ray. There's a very similar to what used to happen with when Corbin was really good. Robbie Ray and Corbin were very similar pitchers. They both give up tons of power. They both can lose control and walk a bunch of guys, and they both give up tons of stolen bases, both with tremendous at their best, strikeout upside. But that doesn't bother me anyway. So I'm pretty locked into the Dodgers, Texas. And then I do have the Yankees as my other team.
You didn't get to too much. You didn't get to, I guess, the Padres, huh?
Well, I just didn't. I'm not playing that many lineups, but I do like. I did like that. I think if I had to pick next, I would probably have tried to find a way to pay down, maybe do the pitching thing you were saying and play Baltimore, or I would have played the Padres or Tampa Bay more. Those were the teams that sort of stood out. Oh, and then both sides of the Arizona KC game, I thought was going to be the chalkier part of this, and it really hasn't gone that. Doesn't look that way at all. So I'm on board with those teams. There's a lot of lineups that, a lot of stacks I think make some sense. I just wanted to, again, if you're going to only play a few lineups, I think it's better to get different variations of those lineups and just get, just change the exposures around for each guy. And like we said, I mean, the Dodger, I don't know what's happening. I'm playing, I don't have any Will Smith right now, but I have Austin Barnes a lot because I'm speculating that they play Austin Barnes today.
Right.
Maybe they don't. But if they don't, that's a whole rebuild. So I'm going to have to figure out what happens in that case, because I did plan on Will Smith potentially taking the day off today. So we'll see whether they give it to him or not.
Is Gurriel and Moreno out for the Arizona here?
Gurriel is, let me just double check. Yeah, Gurriel's out of the lineup and Moreno is out of the lineup. Yes.
Okay.
So it's and then you have McCarthy in there at batting fifth. Wow. Yeah. I don't want to look too long. I might talk myself into a little Michael Walkup, which I don't want to do. But I think the KC side is the other one that I definitely like. So I could get talked into both sides of that game. I just don't have enough builds going where I'm going to be able to actually do it. Yeah. So that's sort of where I was at, guys. Let us know if you have any questions or thoughts. I know it's a funny time, but usually this is the kind of time where, like, in 5 minutes people start piling in because no one else is going live yet, or at least not many other sites are going live at the moment. And in pitching, I just stuck to literally I'm just playing the top 4 pitchers here. So it is what it is. I think they all have tremendous upside. I don't think that there's an overwhelming amount of risk. And I have it rated Cole, Beebe, then Eovaldi, then Glasnow. Glasnow is the one I have the least of. I do think that they're probably going to let Glasnow throw more pitches than we thought, but I think it might be a little less than we're used to with him. If he's on, you could argue over who's a better pitcher, he or Garrett Cole. I really think I think Cole's a better pitcher, but I think it's very, very close between those two in general. And I think those are, it's totally reasonable. I'd rather face San Francisco than the Mets in Yankee Stadium. But, and I mentioned it earlier with the Dodger game, just that we're not, again, you get the mid 80s is just, it's like we were playing the Dodgers early in the season when I was trying to play them in there. You're talking about 60-degree weather versus 85-degree weather, and 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out versus no wind. It just feels like a good spot to try to take advantage of if you can. But again, it's not all that tricky of a slate. It's not like, there's a whole bunch of other options. I like the idea you mentioned about Rodriguez. I think it's an interesting leverage play, especially in the lottery. And I think that you could argue the same thing as you mentioned Cabrera, but I think you could also argue the same thing for Minaya. All 3 of those guys wouldn't shock me. Same thing, actually, throw Walker into the mix. None of those guys would surprise me if they had a decent game tonight.
Right.
So. And as I said before, I'm very comfortable doing 4-4 stacks on this slate, just 4-2s or 4-3s even, just because I think that it's just another way to get a little bit different, especially if I'm going to be using Texas as my main team, which they are. That's just what I'm ended up with, and I feel awesome about Texas. I actually don't feel. I feel like the only thing I'm worried about is that they could end up double the ownership of what they're being projected. Because I think
who's pitching for the White Sox?
Flexen.
Okay.
So it feels like okay, why aren't we just loading up here in this?
Why aren't we just doing that? Yeah.
So that's where I got. I also ended up with some lineups where just accidentally I ended up leaving 500-600 on the table, which is nothing weird about that. Just don't usually end up doing it when I hand build. But again, it's all for me coming down to the Dodgers lineup, which again, we just may not know for a little bit. So
for a while, I guess.
I have an electric, I drive an electric car now, so I have a home charger, but if you're going long distances or whatever, you have to plan your stops and where you go and stuff. So when I stop to I don't want to say refuel, whatever, repower, I'll take a look at the Dodger lineup probably then.
Yeah, I still keep getting to this Padres business.
I like it. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I just didn't personally end up there. But I think it's totally like a solid spot. They're cheap. Parker, I think it can be hit or miss, and the Padres are good against lefties. Like for every year, they're good against lefties, and they're cheap. So I'm in on it. I just didn't get it myself. Maybe I should have.
Texas, maybe some Baltimore.
Yeah.
Not getting any Mets. Not doing that. Not doing any San Francisco against Glass now. Not doing any of that. Just trying to think if there's any real funny business I'm doing. I don't really see it.
Yeah. It's interesting, the Baltimore one, because I feel like Baltimore, if this game was being played in Baltimore, just basically anywhere that wasn't Miami almost, I feel like they would be just the massive, not necessarily chalk, but like everybody would try to spend to get to them. And as it stands, they may not end up 10% owned. So I kind of like that opportunity there. And unlike some days, you do have Urias in there at 2,400 at the bottom of the order if you want to make a 5-man stack, which helps things out a little bit. Kauser is affordable, so is Kierstead, who's batting 5th. So it's actually not as expensive as a stack of theirs as we've seen in recent times. Also because we don't have, I guess Rushman is the other one who's really expensive, but he's in there today. Who is not in there? Why am I? Oh, Mateo Mountcastle is the one who's not in there. But yeah, so it's running out of things to talk about on this.
Padres, KC, Texas. Yeah, I mean, it seemed. I hate to say this. It seems like a little. I don't want to say straightforward. The thing that's going to get me, I think. I mean, this is what I always think about is what's going to get me. What's going to get me is not playing Glass now, I guess. But whatever.
Hey, I think that's a fair one to take a shot with. I mean, he's coming off the injured list. Division opponent, which again, I always mention I'd rather not play pitchers in division games if you had a choice, because they just are more prepared. They literally build their teams with starting staffs in mind, and obviously Glass now being the Dodgers' best pitcher. And yeah, I'm interested to see where Tampa Bay ends up. I'm interested to see where the ownership ends up, to be honest with you, because I feel like somebody's going to steam. It seems like it should be Texas, but maybe it ends up. I mean, the Yankees are cheap.
It's gotta be Texas. You know what I mean? It's flexing. It's
yeah. I think it should be Texas, and I think it is probably going to be. But again, in my biggest buy-in right now, I've got a 4-4 with the Texas and the Dodgers, and I feel pretty good.
Sounds good to me, right? And it's
yeah. Give me Ohtani, Seager, and just whoever cares about the other 6. Let's just get those up in there.
You think I guess they'll play Taylor and/or Hernandez right against the lefty.
You'd think they'd play both of them and Lux if Vargas is out, but if Vargas is in, I'm sorry, not Vargas, Rojas.
Right.
Because if Rojas is in, then somebody misses it. It's probably Taylor, because I guess Kike is a little better and he's a better defensive player. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see. I wouldn't really be surprised to see anything different, but I feel like they'll let Lux hit against the lefty. He's been playing much, much better than he was to start the season, and that's my guess. But just beware, like you could see some shuffling, like with it doesn't, right now Kike is projected to bat 9th. He might be batting 6th at 2,900, which obviously is much more appealing.
So, oh my God, so Torres is hitting first.
Yeah, the Yankee lineup is funny. Austin Wells cleanup. Did not expect to see that one today.
White Sox. I guess I'm trying to think of what's the best Saber Sim in a mood stack. Would it be the White Sox? Probably the White Sox would be better than any of the others.
I think the White Sox would show up, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, there you go. When I run the Sims here, Saber Sims in the mood. It's like top owned San Francisco and the White Sox. There it is. So.
Oh, they're just going for it. They love to do it. You know what it is? It's these less than 9-game slates. They always go, and they always go way off the chalk anyway, but they go way off and just have the leverage plays. And that's true. I'm surprised the Mets are.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody else, somebody else. But it's so funny. Like yesterday, I said the same thing. I'm like, I'm getting all these Angels. I'm just not doing it. And next thing you know, they're up 4-0. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, right. Baseball's a weird, really, really weird game. It's just, it's doing this stuff every day. You really I honestly think if you talk to DFS players, they'd have no idea what guys are actually hitting.
Okay, you ready? Here it is. Colorado's got 20.
They got 20 now?
They have 20.
Jesus. Well, they really burst out in a big way after not hitting for a while.
They have 20. And in the lottery so far, the leading team has 227 points.
That's absurd.
And that's with the aforementioned Griffin Canning.
Yeah.
Canning is 17, which is good enough. Hunter Brown is but there's somebody that's got 6 more innings with Castillo, who's going to get the win. Oh my God, Perez is in the second optimal right now. Martin Perez.
Yeah. He only had 12 points, but he pitched well, actually.
He had 16 points.
Oh, because he got the win. Yeah, he got the win.
Yep. 2.9%. This is actually amazing. You ready for this? So the team that's in third place right now, like about 18 points off, but got 12 PMR left, has no De La Cruz.
What did he end up with?
Like 37 or something like that.
Oh, Jesus, that's nuts.
He had 34. That's what I was saying. And I joked after the first inning that he averages 3 fantasy points an inning.
It's nuts with that guy. I mean, it's just, and there's a lot of them out there, so that Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson are in there tonight. Those would be the other ones who are sort of fit that mold. They just always put up points. But man,
B Doyle has 29 fantasy points. But Jacob Stalling is the real hero. He's got 36 fantasy points.
Jesus.
And not to mention that including those 36 fantasy points is 1 hit by pitch.
That's pretty nuts, man. I had my I think it was my biggest score. It was not my biggest, money wise, but it was it was a big money night. It was the first night I ever won 6 figures, and I played one lineup in the 333 then. That's what it was. But I ended up with something like 287 points or 290 something points. And I had 4 of my guys. It was like Miguel Sano hit 2 home runs, Brian Dozier hit 2 home runs, and then Aaron Hicks had a home run and 2 stolen bases on the same team. Like it was just, and all of them were like 1% owned.
I think my 3 biggest scorers had like 270 points between all 3 slates combined.
You were just taking them down with 90s.
That's it, just the 90s.
Yeah.
So Stallings with 36. It's possible. So Colorado's got 20. It's possible that the Denver Broncos don't score 20 this year.
It's definitely true. By the way, I think that's interesting. How many games will this year? Like, if you had to take their whole schedule, can Colorado, can the Rockies get to 20 as much as the Broncos?
I don't think Colorado's getting to 20 again, but
well, they might. I mean, it's Colorado. They might have even got to 20 in a game that we're forgetting about.
And I wonder if Boston's going for the. I wonder who's pitching for Boston. I wonder if it's like the position guys.
It's got to be. Let me take a quick look because now I'm curious. Let's see who's pitching.
Now,
there's no way you're letting pitchers pitch, right?
If Colorado really wanted to troll, okay, what they would do is if Boston started pitching the position players, Colorado start hitting the pitchers.
That's what you should. I never understand why this isn't more of a thing. I've always thought it should be.
They should bring in all the relievers from the bullpen.
Yeah,
because you're not going to use them, right? And then just let them all pinch hit for all the starters.
Right, absolutely. It's pretty wild that Boston.
Complete mockery of the baseball.
No, it's amazing that Boston even let their guys in as long as they have. Like they did use their regular relief pitchers, which is just bizarre.
Now, does the Colorado? Is it any chance who started this game for Colorado? By the way,
it was Quantrill, and did
he pitch enough to get a win?
Yeah, 6 innings.
All right, there it is.
So he's in there. Griffin Canning was dominant as unfortunately I knew once I'd been, and of course Houston play you every day, and now you get a meaningless 8 on the slate that doesn't matter, but.
And then you talk about park factors after all this stuff. This is a perfect example. Colorado, Boston, right? That best park, whatever, 25 runs. Yeah. Seattle Angels, 1-0.
Yeah, it's exactly the park. It's pretty
1-0.
That's pretty funny.
Victor Robles, 1 hit, 1 stolen base, 8 points. That's it.
Yeah, that works.
He's like the leading Seattle guy. Oh no, Haniger with a home run. That's it.
Oh.
This is when Haniger finally hits the home run, is when it puts him as like the 73rd best player on the slate.
Right. Right. It's been very frustrating for the last year and a half with that guy.
Yeah.
I might get out of here soon because I don't know if there's a whole
We're all
bunch of-
good. We're all gonna go. I got some stuff to do too.
Cool. Well,
Okay, so wait. So wait. Are you gonna be around for tomorrow's afternoon or no?
yeah, so it's a morning one. So what time do you want to do it? I could do it we could do it just at 11:30 Eastern.
Perfect.
All right, perfect. So I'll see you then.
I'll see you
All
at
right.
11:30 Eastern, and good luck.